Morning. My name is Susanne Bounds, and I'm a Unitarian, Universalist, Humanist, Pagan, and I use she, her pronouns. The fall equinox is a good time to focus on our seventh UU principle, adopted in 1985. Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And the sixth source, adopted in 1995. Spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. This principle and source are both quite recent in the UU community and the world at large, and at base they have the potential to upend many of the philosophies and structures that cause harm to all life and prevent our achievement of beloved community. Reverend Forrest Gilmore, Executive Director of Shalom Community Center in Bloomington, Indiana, observes, "We make a profound mistake when we limit the seventh principle to merely an environmental idea. It is so much more. It is our response to the great dangers of both individualism and oppression. It is our solution to the seeming conflict between the individual and the group. Just like Christianity and other religions and spiritual paths, paganism has profound political and social effects. So it seems to me this fall equinox, a time focusing on harmony and balance between light and dark, and a time of ending and renewal, is a good time to explore this principle and source and what it means to embrace a pagan spirit. Pagan is a Latin term originally meaning country person, but it was adapted and transformed by Christians into a derogatory term for anyone not recruited into the army of Christ, as noted in the Oxford English Dictionary. Pagan in today's usage refers to people the world around, past and present, who do not adhere to monotheistic Abrahamic religion. Modern-day pagans honor and learn from what currently remains of pre-Christian ways of living in the world, and also work to reimagine how those ways can be recovered and built anew. We hope to transform the misery and strife we humans have created for ourselves through our centuries-long thought patterns and social institutions created particularly by the invention and evolution of the monotheistic God. For example, the offertory song, Ordinary Magic, asks, "Did you know that perfection is who you truly are?" Most religions, particularly the Abrahamic, Jewish, Christian, and Islam faiths, teach us that we humans are totally imperfect, sinners in general, and we need to strive in physical, emotional, and spiritual ways to perfect ourselves so that we deserve love and acceptance from God and each other, and we can avoid God's wrath and everlasting hell. In contrast, in the pagan worldview, the divine is immanent in everyone and everything, and all are to be valued regardless of individual appearance or traits. Gods and goddesses are aspects of human existence and are constantly accessible and often regularly interact with humans. Power in the pagan worldview is considered to arise from the ever-shifting flow of energy within and among all. people, animals, plants, land, sky. It is not the power wielded over us by an abstract and unknowable God. That is a toxic power, alienating us from ourselves and focusing us on fear. In pagan belief, God does not make things happen, we do. Each one of us every day influences the web in thought or deed, and therefore must take responsibility for our choices, not attributing it to God's will or thinking that's just the way things are, or who said life is fair. This latter worldview leads to feelings of futility and hopelessness, and being overwhelmed by seemingly unknown forces. Another way paganism challenges these beliefs and how the world works is in its focus on time as cyclic, not linear. The biggest impact of this, in my view, is less fear of what we call death. Because we see cycles in everything in the natural world, why do we think we would be any different? The drop of water does not know what happens when it evaporates, but we humans observe it never ceases to be. It just changes form from solid to liquid to gas and around again. We sleep unconscious, quote, dead to the world for a period of time, then awake. Deciduous trees bud and grow leaves, then withdraw and drop their leaves, energy digging into the earth. What might happen in our world if we cease the fear of ending and only see how all in some way, excuse me, recycles and never completely disappears? It only changes. Pagans, as Starhawk states in the Spiral Dance, also embody a spirit of poetry and metaphor, not doctrine and theology. There are no rules for love and acceptance beyond do as thou will, but harm none. Each pagan has the right to express spirit in whatever ways speak to them, alone or in groups, with or without gods and goddesses, by engaging in ritual or not. Pagans emphasize creativity in their lives, to include traditional art forms, but also to appreciate and imagine the spirit in all things, from both a physical and spiritual viewpoint. For example, in viewing a flower, a pagan can appreciate its beauty and know its value is simply an energy and being in the world, and can also understand the complexity of its biology and chemistry to appreciate the fullness of its existence. This leads to what is perhaps the biggest divergence between the Western monotheistic worldview. The traditional Western worldview has chosen to see everything in terms of either or and in hierarchy. If one thing is good, then its opposite must be bad. Black or white, light or dark, male or female, heterosexual or homosexual, intellect or emotion, work or play, science or religion, and so on. Pagans emphasize both and thinking. Consider this same list with just one change, from or to and. Black and white, light and dark, male and female, heterosexual and homosexual, intellect and emotion, work and play, science and religion. The Western worldview has insisted on separation, estranging us from our environment placing ourselves above all other animals and life forms, estranging us from ourselves and from each other. As Reverend Gilmore noted, this pagan worldview is expressed in the seventh principle and sixth source has the potential to change harms of the oppression and estrangement we currently choose to live with, judging all on the basis of false oppositions and constructed hierarchies. Because we pagans live in a world of cyclic time, metaphor, and magic, our spiritual practices and services are generally activities, accompanied by tools or props that speak to us and spark our connections and imaginations. For example, I have a small simple altar on my bookshelf as a frequent touchstone. A feather or sage bundle sits in the east for air, a candle in the south for fire, a cup or seashells in the west representing water, and a stone or two in the north for earth. Spiritual activities correspond to the cycles we experience. The wheel of the year, spring, summer, fall, and winter in temperate climates, the monthly phases of the moon, the daily light of the sun. Last Tuesday was the fall equinox, the time when day and night are in balance, and the sun crosses its invisible line from the north sky to the south sky. Pagans view this time of year as a time to review the bounty of the spring and summer and prepare ourselves for the gifts of quiet and wisdom and reconnecting of the winter, the dark time of the year. We don't see the darkness as a time to endure or as a time to fear, but another phase to see as a gift. Consider the life cycle of the butterfly, the initial egg stage, to larva, caterpillar, to chrysalis, and then butterfly. To fully mature, it goes through the cocoon stage, in which the caterpillar dissolves and deteriorates, except for some basic cellular building blocks called imaginal discs that are the structures of the butterfly: wings, antennae, legs, etc. This cocoon stage is a powerful metaphor for changes we humans can undertake at this fall time of the year in preparation for celebrating the growth and changes offered by the dark time of the year. Indeed, as Rebecca Solnit says in a field guide to getting lost, the butterfly is so fit an emblem of the human soul that its name in Greek is psyche, the word for soul. We have not much language to appreciate this phase of decay, this withdrawal, this era of ending that must precede beginning, nor of the violence of the metamorphosis, which is often spoke of as though it were as graceful as a flower blooming. In this, paganism also recognizes the pain of change and loss, destruction that leads to construction. Pagans do not look for or promise a utopia in which humanity will avoid suffering or pain, as in traditional religious images and stories of heaven, but rather that we can manage the suffering as we embrace both and. We focus on not inflicting pain so much on ourselves and others through oppression, and on balancing the individual and the community, so that compassion and community support can alleviate the inevitable pain that is part of existence. To observe the fall equinox and prepare for the dark time of the year, we'll do a bit of ordinary magic right now. If you have a favorite blanket or afghan or large scarf or shawl nearby, grab it. I'll give you a second. If you don't have one, we can continue anyway. Grab it and wrap yourself tightly in it, as in a cocoon. Otherwise, envision a favorite blanket or other textile you have in your home, and in your imagination, wrap it around you. If you are not claustrophobic, wrap it over your head as well so you are in the dark. Leave a small hole as needed, though, of course, for oxygen. You don't want to emerge from your cocoon with a carbon dioxide headache. Now, relax into this dark. Take a deep breath in for a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it briefly. 1, 2. Then as you let it out slowly, let each muscle in your body relax at the same time. Intake a second breath. 3, 4, 5. Hold. Release slowly and feel the last tension in your body ease. Now, safe and calm within the dark cocoon, hear these questions I will be reading. Trust what first comes to your mind in response. What are the building blocks or imaginal discs that already exist within your caterpillar and butterfly being? What physical, emotional, and spiritual components comprise this being? Specifically, and remember, we are not being literal here, but metaphorical. What does that caterpillar butterfly look like? How does it see the world? How does it feel the world? How does it move through the world? What gives it energy to move and fly? What gives it strength to withstand buffeting winds or strong rainstorms that challenge its existence? Where does it like to rest? Notice any other characteristics that arise in your mind and heart as you contemplate and envision that butterfly to be, which is part of the caterpillar already. Take another deep, relaxing breath. Intake 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold 1, 2, and release it. Slowly emerge from your blanket cocoon. After you emerge, look closely at the textile and connect it firmly with the images you had as you were in the cocoon. You have now created a bit of magic you can hold in your hands, and you can access again anytime you wish, this upcoming season, or even into further years, as we constantly cycle through changes. You can take a few minutes to sit and breathe and wrap yourself in your cocoon and revisit what you saw today and develop it further and discover more as time passes and shifts and energies pass and shift. It can be useful to write down what you see at different times you cocoon. As some things drop away and dissolve or deteriorate, new structures can emerge and take stronger form. And we can construct new forms to replace what falls away. As we do this on personal levels, also remember we can apply this same process to the world at large. Perhaps the world and nature is giving us, imposing on us, a time for cocooning and transforming. The question now is, are we willing to dissolve the old caterpillar forms of oppression and strife? Do we have the will and courage to become a caterpillar and butterfly society, where each can shine its colors and move and fly without fear, and know we can withstand those winds and rains that challenge us? What can the seventh principle and sixth source and paganism offer to help us bring to existence a both and society, a beloved community? Our interlude is also from Leah of thisisleah.com, her composition titled Honor the Dark.